If I walk out of here, if I make you laugh 3 or 4 times, if I make you cry, if I make you think, whatever, it really, how much good does it do if you just walk out of here just feeling good? My heart is that you hear something, that you grab something today, even if it's just one thing, and you say, you know what, I want to think more seriously about this, and maybe, just maybe, this is going to spark a change in my life. And it's going to affect everybody around me. That's my desire. I want to inspire you to move to action. To do that, I'm going to talk to you today. I'm going to challenge you with 3 big questions. Over the course of my life, I had, I had the opportunity. I grew up in a family business. So I was around the business world my whole life. I had the opportunity to be an assistant coach at the collegiate level for 11 seasons, and so I had tremendous opportunities and experience there that shaped my perspective. Eventually went on this kind of crazy tear. I started studying leadership because I saw the common thread of leadership going through everything that we were doing, both in the sports world and in the business world. Because I was at an NAIA school, I had to keep my day job. So I was running for years and years, running parallel in both worlds. And I just saw this common thread of leadership going through everything. I began this obsessive journey of leadership development, reading everything I could get my hands on. I had an author that I liked a couple of his books. So I sat down with him one time, and I remember him telling me, if you read 500 books on any subject, you're considered an international expert. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, wow, 500 books. I mean, I'm working 50 hours, 60 hours in the business world right now. I'm working 40, 50 hours in the sports world. I didn't have kids. I'm married, but that's easy. Okay, they're awake. I was just making sure they're listening. But I thought, I can do that. That's only a book a week for 10 years. And I was like obsessed with reading leadership books. So I went on this tear. This was back in the 90s. And I look back on those days and all those experiences, the sports world, the business world, and studies. And there's 3 things, really. There's 3 big questions that almost everything that I ever do around the subject of leadership comes down to. 3 big questions that I always challenge athletes, coaches, business people to be asking themselves. And that's why I want to challenge you with today, in hopes of having you think a little deeper, maybe shaping your perspective a little bit. The first one is, and this is a really simple one, what is leadership in the first place? I mean, think about this. What is it? In the day and age in which we live, I mean, words mean so many different things to different people. And leadership is one of those terms that there's so much written about it sometimes, and it's talked about so much that sometimes it tends to maybe become watered down a little bit or mean something a little different. I'm going to test you guys. Is it okay if I test them, Bill? Do you think it'd be good to see where we're at? How about you guys do this? I want you to do something. I want you to think in your minds the number 1 most important attribute in leadership. Just one word. Don't say it. One word. What is the most important attribute in leadership? Now on 3, I want you to say it out loud, okay? You got to say this, otherwise we'll get up and hug again. So don't let me down here, okay? I want to hear it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm not sure what that was. Here's a crazy thing. How many of you, just out of curiosity, did you hear somebody next to you say the exact same thing that you said? Look at that. Nobody. And sometimes I got to be careful when I do that with teams, because right away the coach is sitting there with his team right in front of him, and he's going, "We're on the same page. We've been talking about this for a long time, boys. You better get this right." And then all 12 of them have a different answer. All that illustrates, I say, you know what, none of you're not wrong. There's no right or wrong answer. The reality is, all that illustrates is, guys, we think just a little bit differently about the topic of leadership and what that word really means to us. So when someone says, "Hey, we really need to pick up here or get back," all it means is that I'm thinking just a little bit. I may be thinking about, man, we need more courage here, and this person standing here may be thinking we need more integrity, or we need more vision, or we need more. You name all the words that were out there. So it's just important for us to understand that right from the start. And when I share, I always say, let's get a baseline. Let's start off with a baseline. What does it mean? Go to the dictionary. All these different terms for lead, some way, shape, or form, you'll hear showing the way by going ahead. Obviously, you've all heard this. You can simplify this a little more by just using the term influence. It starts with influence, but it's much, much more than that. You can't stop there. There's so much more to that because food influences us. So we got to be careful. So where does that influence come from? It comes from 3 main ways. 3 main ways we influence or we move people. We use words, use attitudes, and behaviors. Our words, attitudes, and behaviors. That's how we move people. So, right from the beginning, if that's where this leadership baseline starting point is in the conversation that you have with your team or the people around you, go, let's just get one thing. We're going to just start off. We know it's influence from words, attitudes, and behaviors. Well, the first thing I always tell people that means is, guess what? There's no pass-outs in any room that we're in. I don't care if I'm teaching. I can be speaking to a group of junior high kids, a group of fourth or fifth graders, whatever. It doesn't matter. Because my question is, do you use words to influence somebody from time to time? Yeah. Do you have a bad attitude or a good attitude? And do you think that shapes, your influence in your little brother or little sister? And the reality is, a lot of times when I'm in a room this size, there'll be somebody in here that has a specific position that maybe they don't have direct reports or whatever, and they'll go, I'm not sure just how much this leadership topic relates to me. And I go, whoa. If leadership begins with influence, then don't underestimate the opportunity that you have informally. We always overestimate the formal opportunities, and a lot of times even to the extent that it comes at an expense of the informal opportunities. Catch that? The formal ones are in the hierarchy. Now, the hierarchy is important, and we need it. It's in schools, the seniors, there's a role, definitely, that the freshmen and the seniors play. There's no doubt. And there's a place for hierarchy everywhere every time there's an organization together. But the reality is those are formal opportunities, but we shouldn't forget the informal opportunities that we all have every day. So we understand we have a role, and we understand that role begins with our own choice, because there isn't anybody else choosing your words for you, your attitudes, or your behaviors. As much as sometimes we like to think other people choose those for us, they don't. We come to work every day, no matter what happened to us. The guy cut us off in traffic, or we got a ticket, or whatever happened to us, and we go, well, they ruined my day because they didn't. You're choosing to allow them to do that. You know that. You've heard this, but just understand that when you begin to think about how influential you can be in shaping other people's days at times, you got to back up a second and go, wait a minute. I have an opportunity to influence. Am I really pushing to be a positive one, or am I taking them down to the cellar? You have a choice. You have a role, and you have a choice in leadership, both informal and formal. And with that comes great responsibility. Now, the responsibility thing is something that I typically can speak to. I probably could speak to that for about an hour. Because I think it's just one of those things in our culture that we're just really, really in crisis mode right now. And what I mean by when I say there's two parts to the responsibility thing that I'm talking about. The first part is taking responsibility for your own contributions to the problems that are happening around you. We are so conditioned this day and age to blame. It's just in our nature to blame. You turn on the TV today, and that is what we see. We see the blame. You see it in the sports world. The coaches are, some guy steps on a guy's head, and in the press conference he goes, well, it's unfortunate that guy's head, was under my foot. Or the guy elbows him in the face, and too bad his head, his nose got in the way of my elbow. It's like, wait a minute. We just don't want to take responsibility. We do it in the sports world. Sometimes in the business world, we want to blame other departments or the things. It's all over the place, sometimes in families. Not in politics. We don't blame in politics, but everywhere else. Everywhere else we're blaming. But it's crisis mode. And again, like I said, you guys, it's in our nature. I had my wife and I, we were at an event a couple years ago, and we got a really cool picture taken with some celebrities. Like it was Tony Dungy, some Tony Dungy, Dave Ramsey, Michael W. Smith, and the Jonas Brothers' mom. She was there. So anyways, I didn't get her autograph, but I got a picture taken with all four of them together. And it was a cool picture, and they sent us a hard copy of the picture. And it was sitting in our kitchen for a while, and it was leaning up against the wall. And I went walking through the kitchen one day, and I go, honey, that's a cool picture. I said, we only got one copy. Nowadays, obviously, you got electronic everything. We didn't. And so I was like, we should put that in a frame so we don't lose it. And then I, walk away. Well, a couple days later, for whatever reason, it was still sitting there, and I was shuffling papers, and don't ask me how this happened on the one spot that didn't have seal or caulk or had settled. but I pushed that picture accidentally up against the wall, and it slid behind the cabinets. And I'm, dumb me, I'm like, oh, open the cabinet. It's got to be in here. It just fell down. Yeah, I'm not a big builder guy, so I didn't know that there's backs on cabinets, Todd. But anyways, so I'm really giving myself away here. So I literally, that happened. I was like, oh my gosh. And I turn around, and I look at my wife, and I go, did I not tell you to? Now, I'm here speaking today. So you guys know I backed out of this, right? because she gave me one of those like, oh my gosh, you are not gonna go there, Todd. And I caught, fortunately, thank God, I caught myself and I was like, you know what, you're right, that's my bad. I can't believe I did that. So but it is in our nature. It's in our nature to blame. And yet, it's such a powerful thing, especially when we're working with teammates and we see problems going on in the organization around us. And we have the tendency to go to the problem that we see and go, here's what you need to do. You need to do this, 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 and this, and that'll fix that. And then we'll all be better if you do that, thanks, and then we walk away instead of going, wait a minute, how have I contributed to this thing? And can I go to them and can I say, hey, I've looked at this thing from all angles and maybe I haven't communicated well enough here. Maybe I'm not supporting you. Maybe I'm not, whatever it may be, I'm thinking through this. I just want to know, what are some things, I did this maybe, or I did that. What else is there that we could work on to maybe try to solve this problem together? And instead of going there first, we go here. And all of a sudden, both sides are going, hey, I want this help too. I want to grow through this. I want to learn how we can fix the problem. We have to take responsibility. With that role, when we embrace our role, our influence, and understand it's our choice, we've got to take responsibility. Those are some key things, I think, when we ask the question, what is leadership? Second question is who? Who do we really want to be as a leader? When we think about where our words and attitudes and behaviors come, we have to go a little deeper now into what I call the heart of leadership, and that means it's coming from another term I use for that is our character. There isn't anything that you say, there isn't any attitude that you display, there isn't any behavior that you act out that doesn't flow from and through your character. It's you. A lot of times people go, oh gosh, I can't believe I said that. That wasn't me. Who was it? Your mouth was moving. Sure looked like it came out of your mouth. I mean, and I understand sometimes we say things we wish we wouldn't have, but it was still us. What's in there? Heart's wellspring of life. Some of you have heard that before. It really is. What's in there will come out. So we got to think about what's really driving my character. And guys, I got to tell you, in the day and age in which we're living, I truly believe a big reason that we need to take seriously this character thing, we need to take the time to say, what is the right character? What is the right character here? And be specific. Because unfortunately, in the day that we're in, I believe character is slowly but surely becoming a relative term. It's becoming a relative term. I don't agree with it, but it is. We have people that think different things, different things about different people, and I could prove it. I could prove it if I took the last 5 presidents and put them up on the wall. I could prove it if I took 5 coaches in college football and put them up on the wall, and I said, you guys rank them from 1 to 5, who's the most character or who has the worst character? And in most rooms of 1,000 people across the country with just a general audience, we'd have people that would have them completely flip-flopped. We'd have some people that would be saying, oh, this president or this guy is the most, high character person in the world, and this guy's up next to the devil. And you know what? Flip-flop too. There'd be people that have it the exact opposite way, which tells you, where is character? Where's it gone? What is it? Well, I believe there is truth, so I'm not advocating it, but I am calling people and challenging people to say, hey, we need to start to take the time to really think about, who is it that I want to be as a leader? Because what I believe is right, what I'm really going to stand up for is right and begin to define as right character is going to come out eventually. And what do I want that to be? And what do I want that to look like? I've got to go into this just real quick, why the importance of this, taking the time to think about who we want to be. Because the reality is, as a culture, sometimes we underestimate our influence on a culture. And I know culture is very, very important. You heard Bill talking about it just a little bit ago. And it's really, really near and dear to his heart. How are we setting the tone in our culture, and who do we really want to be as an organization? What you guys have to understand is every single person in the room impacts culture. Culture, technically, if you look at the textbooks, there's 3 things that they'll tell you make up a culture.